Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio. Here alongside me is Matt Allen, and we are your KTAR car guys, heard every Saturday from 11 to noon right here on 92.3. At Bumper Radio, we are helping you, the motoring public, have a better overall car experience. If you've got car questions, we've got answers, so we encourage you to give us a call at 602-277-5827. 602-277-KTAR. You can also text us if you're shy at 411-923. Anything you got going on at an auto shop, or as we're talking about a topic in regard to your car you want to call in, give us a call. Today on the Bumper Roadmap, we got some fact or fiction. We're taking your calls, and is your car ready for summer? Top 10 tips for your car for summer. I can't say that 10 times fast over.
Yeah, try a little tongue twister there in the top 10 tips, huh, Dave?
Yes.
Well, the first tip, I'm going to say, you've heard the term rubber, where the rubber meets the road. And what I'm already starting to see on my daily drive up to 51, there's a car in front of you, and all of a sudden they're swerving. You're like, what are they doing? Well, there's a tire carcass in the road, because we're already starting to see tires coming apart on cars. We're just, what did we dip into the high 90s one day this week or the past week? And I think
that is the number one thing.
Yeah, that's it. That's the number one thing is a safety issue, is gonna inconvenience you, leave you stranded on the side of the road. You name it.
Nothing good happens on the side of the road with a flat tire. Nothing good. Yeah, I wrote a blog on KTR.com about, can you boil an egg on a sidewalk? They're a little crispy when you get some of those asphalt grinds in them. They're not too bad, but you got to realize those temperatures on the cement are 150, 170 degrees, and that's just rubber. And rubber is what's going to come apart when it comes to summertime. So that's the number one thing to stay off the side of the road. You're taking a road trip. Hey, we're driving to San Diego in July. Tires have got to be on your mind, and I'd rather buy them now. I always buy everything out of season. Don't buy tires at the height of the season in July.
I don't know that it's not like back east or the Midwest or somewhere where the seasons are changing so much and you've got to go get your snow tires. I don't know that there's necessarily a tire season in Phoenix, but when you need tires is when you need tires, regardless of the season. So how do we know when we need them, Dave? What are the things that we're going to check?
Well, tread depth, and we're looking for even tread depth because, if you only see the outside edge of the tire, it's not telling you the whole story. So if you're looking at your front tires, you want to go ahead and turn the steering wheel all the way out to the right so you can see the tread all the way across. Tread depth, you can use Abraham Lincoln's penny. That's what we used to use, but that's out because we drive twice as fast as we used to.
Did Abraham Lincoln have a penny?
Yeah, he did. He's
on
the penny, right?
Did he actually have? Do we have a penny of his?
I think we do.
Okay.
So you would use a penny to check the tread depth, but now we're using quarters.
So what we're doing, what you're talking about, Dave, is we're going to take a quarter now. It used to be a penny, but you take the top of the. It's round, so there isn't the top of the quarter.
The top of the head.
But the top of the head, you're going to put that down in the deepest part of the tread on the tire. And if you can see the top of the president's head, you're in the right range. You need tires. If you can see it's the top of the head.
It's time.
And that's around 3/32 of an inch of tread depth. You look at in between the treads, and there's a smooth bar, a tread bar, sporadically throughout the tire. And if that's smooth with the tire, you're done. You're past time. That's 2/32 of an inch, and a tire is completely shot at that point.
Well, the other thing is the torture test of summer is going to tax a tire that is old. People do not realize that, Twinkies, they can get away for being on the shelf for 10 years. They're still going to taste the same. But tires at 5 to 6 years, whether they've got a lot of miles on them or not, they're going bad. They've just been in the environment, and they've got a shelf life.
Yeah, we had a caller last week talk about their tires. Remember, Dave? He was talking about, I've only had this tire in the car for so long, and it blew, and it did all this damage to the tire. Then when we started talking more, he had that tire in the garage for 5 years. Maybe got a special on it or something. And I don't think that worked out so well in hindsight. But like we talked about last week, there's a born-on date, just like your Budweiser, right on the side of the tire. It says DOT, and then it's got some serial numbers that have to do with are specific to the manufacturer and what plant and such that the tire was made in.
It's the 4 digits by themselves that we're looking for.
At the very end. So, for example, I don't know what week of the year we're in right now, somewhere around the 14th week possibly. So so if you had a tire that said 1414, that would be the 14th week of 2014 that tire was manufactured. So now, if you have a tire that was manufactured sometime in 2008 or 2009 in your car, you should really be looking at that. Now, just because it's that old doesn't mean the tire's bad. Maybe this tire was on the car in Connecticut for the last 4 years, and it wasn't exposed to direct sunlight or anything like that. So you shouldn't be too concerned about that, but that's a good indicator as to the life of the tire and should you think about replacing it.
Well, and they're not that bad. I see these billboards, 4 tires for $100. You can just go down and pick up a set of tires. I get a new pair of tires every week.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? A good pair of shoes costs you $100. Put that in the perspective of buying tires. If you're going to buy tires, let's buy a good tire. You know, it doesn't have to be the top of the line, but just a good quality name brand tire. I saw a tire the other day. It was called a Ling Long. That was the name on the side of the tire. Now, you can figure out where it was made.
Well, a lot of them are made there, but when it's just, that's a
Ling Long.
I want a Ling Long.
Well, the other thing is, tires are going to be the number one thing you're going to run into in summer that's going to put you on the side of the road and wreck your day. You're going to be all dressed up in a tuxedo, headed to a wedding, and your tire's going to blow. You don't want that to happen. The other thing that's going to happen, you're going to be in that same tuxedo going to another big event, and your radiator's going to pop.
Right after you change the tire, you make it 100 yards down the freeway, and the
radiator's going to pop. And this is going to, the tire's going to make a bad day. The radiator popping may make a bad budget for the year because it's going to, if your radiator pops and your car overheats and you warp a head gasket or ruin an engine, we went from a minor expense of having a new radiator put into a big expense that's going to wreck my budget for the year, and it's not something you're going to be planning on. So we really, really want to pay attention to that cooling system. Just yesterday, Matt, you had a car in your shop where it overheated, and the guy needs an engine.
We had a nice little car, a 2006, so we're not talking about an old car.
New model year.
Not too bad. It's a modern car, if you will. Hyundai Tiburon. In the car, the radiator blew up. The top plastic tank of the radiator cracked, lost the coolant. Now, that can happen anytime, but I bet if we rewound 45 days, 60 days ago, and that car was in a service center or in a shop for maintenance, we might have started to see some buildup around the neck of the radiator or around the top seam. So that's what we're looking at when you get the car into the shop. But it's not only the radiator. Let's talk about the cooling system as a whole. There's a lot of components there. There's belts that are going to drive the water pump to circulate the water. They're going to drive the alternator to keep the battery charged. That's part of the system. We're going to have the hoses. You have upper hoses, lower hose on the radiator, maybe some heater hoses, throttle body hoses. I don't know that. I mean, we're going to be checking those things. And then we've got the major component of the radiator itself.
I'm thinking I'm a consumer, and I'm listening to this, and I'm down at Virginia Auto Service, and they say, hey, come look at your car. You see this green crust growing up around your radiator. As a consumer, I don't know if that's good or bad. So you guys need some baseline expectations for how long these things last. And you were saying before we started talking, because it's going to be all rubber components or plastic components, they're going to fail when you get the torturous heat of the summer. And belts and hoses, we need to start thinking about them at 8 years old and 80,000 miles. That's kind of the time frame. That's where we're starting to pay attention to them. So in the back of your mind, when you're at the auto shop, if you got 25,000 miles on your car and 45,000 miles on your car, and they tell you need belts and hoses, time for, go to bumper-to-bumper-radio.com and find a new shop.
Time for a second opinion. Now, unless they're able to take you out and demonstrate to you, look around this clamp or where this particular connection.
Yeah, there could be a reason why.
Yeah, and that 880 barometer, if you will, comes from Gates Corporation. They're one of the largest manufacturers of belts and hoses and pulleys and systems for automotive, and they make them for Mercedes, Volkswagen, General Motors.
They're an original equipment supplier
for everybody. But it used to be, in the 70s, 80s, even early 90s when we were still servicing the cars in the 70s and 80s. I used to work in South Scottsdale area, and you had the people that would come in religiously. In my car, it's been 5 years. I need all new belts and hoses. That
day's gone.
That day is gone. It can be so cost prohibitive now to just go ahead blanketly and just replace all the hoses, and it doesn't make sense. And that's why when you need that relationship with the shop to talk to you about, we're going to do this one because, for example, this is where the hot water always comes out of the thermostat, and we see this one fail. But these throttle body hoses,
not such a big deal.
we're not going to do that. But the way to prevent all this from happening, I mean, inevitably we're going to replace a belt or a hose or have something, but preventative maintenance. Let's watch it and monitor it and maintain it before it has a problem.